So we must do two things, two great things together to encompass that enormous new view that lies before us, but to encompass it within the framework of science, to see it within the whole categorical framework of science, and to see that these two are not separate, but that they are wedded. The bigness of the idea, the newness of the idea, the greatness of it is one with the structure of science, the structure of being itself.
So we'll begin with the word vertical now, and that word order in Christian Science is just under the whole impact of the word vertical. It's just under the impact of that law of interdependence of life and life, truth, and love. That one infinite individuality of life, the one life, the infinite individuality of God, of being. You know that right at the beginning of the platform, Mrs. Eddy says, a knowledge of the individuality of the infinite is left to the revelation of divine science. Isn't that beautiful? A knowledge of the individuality of the infinite is left to the revelation of divine science. That's exactly what we see here, that one infinite individuality of life that knows itself within itself is a law to every further level. It is a law to being revealed to every level, even a level that needs to attain that knowledge, to receive that knowledge. And so in that vertical, we have that relationship I said between the one life and then life, truth, and love, as though the one life, that infinite individuality would say, within myself is the law to bring myself forth, to bring forth my individuality as infinite individualities. Is that what we have in the, let's refer to the survey. And you see at the point of divine science as the word, that infinite individuality of life, and in the word in absolute Christian Science, that one life through its own self, within its own self, contains the lawfulness to express itself as the infinite individualities, the spontaneous bringing forth of itself, individualizing of itself. You see that the infinite light of that one life, that one word, that word of divine science, contains within itself the law of revelation, the law of life, truth, and love. The law of life, truth, and love that individualizes, that brings forth the individualities of the one infinite individuality. The law of life, truth, and love that takes that infinite light and reveals it. You see? The self-existency of life, the fact that life is what it is, the isness of being, the beingness of being, that life, truth, and love exists as a law within that infinite self-existence and is able to express that as a creative impulsion, a creative urge, a creative drive to bring that forth, to fill the universe with that. And that's what's breaking in on the vertical in the word matrix. That breaks in. You see that? That's life and life, truth, and love, huh? Break in and bring to a further level, a new language, the one life brings itself, or is present. It's ever present already, but it appears in a new language. It takes the form of a new language. It takes the form of the creative order of the word, which even translates itself further to creative thinking creatively. Thinking creatively, reasoning creatively, to begin to reason according to the lines of the 7 and the 4, according to the logic of the calculus. It brings the ordered understanding of the word order. So you hear that self-existency of life, being what being is working through its own law of creative impulsion to bring forth the creative order of being. How being brings something forth that seems not to have been yet, but actually is. That the infinite light of the one word of life, that infinite light. Yes, you see, divine science, the word of God, saith to the darkness upon the face of the air, saith to the darkness upon the face of air. That's the level we would think of as Christian Science, isn't it? What does divine science say? God is all in all, and the light, now she says the light of ever-present love. But that light now is coming in its first great expression as the infinite light of the word matrix, and is through its own law of revelation. It has within itself, that infinite light has within itself its own law to reveal itself through life, truth, and love, and to bring to the human, bring to the level of Christian Science, ordered understanding, to order the understanding. And now the matrix shows us that ordered understanding isn't just the 7, but it's the 7 and the 4. It brings the 7 and the 4. It brings its own whole calculus, doesn't it? It brings to the human the calculus, not just the nature. The nature cannot stand alone. They're indivisible, inseparable. And then we see that infinite individuality of life in divine science contains within itself its own law to bring itself forth as infinite individualities spontaneously new. And that law is breaking in and is raising up. Another law has within itself a further law, that law of the word order, such that there is a laying down of the mortal concept. We could so easily translate that into a more modern vernacular and say, well, what goes on is that there is that terrific, great, irresistible drive of life, truth, and love as it drives the system of consciousness, which is a nonlinear system, out and away from equilibrium and into the infinite field of non-equilibrium. That is laying down the mortal concept, that consciousness is driven by life, truth, and love.